All right, guys, what's going on? We forgot to press record for the first bit. We were talking about hardware wallets. Um, for anybody who was here, you got the information. That's what you get for being here. For other people, figure it out on your own. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a couple of things right now. The first thing we're going to talk about is what's going on right now, which is there's a phishing alert and scam going out on Dex Tools, CoinGecko. It just came out. I would highly recommend, if you haven't closed your browser and logged out of your wallets and disconnected them from sites, I would highly recommend you do that. If you get a prompt to log into your wallet right now, I highly recommend you do not log in. Okay? Nobody needs to do anything right now. Everybody's chill. Everybody's safe. Don't rush to do stuff. But I would shut things down if you haven't already. Okay? So somehow right here in this tweet, it says, "We are disabling all ads until the situation is clarified by ads by Coinzilla. Please be aware and don't sign suspicious requests at your wallet." So it looks like it's Coinzilla is a platform designed to support the continuously expanding finance and crypto industry by delivering ads through a massive network of publishers. So it might be a business account that Dex Tools has, and they're the ones that are running an ad that they might not even have known, right? Incompetence and malice look the same. They might not even have known, or they could be malicious. Either way, it looks like this Coinzilla is the one that is running these phishing scams right now, and it's very, very dangerous. I think a lot of people may get compromised because people just click buttons and log into shit without looking at it. Make sure you're always slowing down and double checking things before you go pushing buttons. Okay. It is a very easy way to lose all of your money. Healthy skepticism will keep you safe in this space. Okay, not the kind of trauma skepticism that you bring into other communities because you've been rug pulled before and all that nonsense. But healthy skepticism and slowing down keep you very safe. Okay, so now that that frenzy is more or less taken, let's start on what we were going to talk about today. Nick went live. Nick from the Wolf Den went live earlier today. We were just talking about some things. I'm going to be leaving for Costa Rica tomorrow, so I wanted to hop on and do some stuff with you guys before I took off. I'll be gone for a week. I'll come back on the 22nd. Talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Okay. So today we're going to talk about market cycles, how to win in a bear market, and we'll do some project and development updates and information for you guys. Okay. So this quote is a quote that we've been hearing a lot in the Wolf Den the past year. It's one of Nick's favorite quotes. It's a pretty amazing quote, and kind of most things boil back down to the root of this. Okay, people prefer the certainty of misery to the misery of uncertainty. Okay, and to give some context or an analogy for this, how many of you know somebody who's in a toxic relationship, but they stay in the toxic relationship even though that they shouldn't? Okay, this is a pretty good application for this. If you think about this, I would recommend you write this quote down and reflect on it and look for it, because you'll see it. People cannot handle uncertainty. Having a healthy relationship with uncertainty is a very valuable thing. Now, there's no such thing as absolute certainty, because none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. We cannot conceive of what's going to happen, 3 months down the line or 6 months down the line. So it's inappropriate to speculate or take a snapshot in time of where we currently are and build beliefs around that. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about this down here when we talk about when in doubt, zoom out. Okay, so let's talk about the macro market, because I think, as most of you know, if you've been paying attention, the market took an absolute dump this past week, and there's a few different things that play into it. We're actually going to go through the entire thread for what happened with UST and Terra and Luna. So we're going to do that in a second. We're going to go through a Twitter thread and we'll enlighten you guys if you don't know exactly what happened on what one person did to masterfully play chess against a bunch of sheep. Okay. So the market's been significantly down right now. This, in my opinion, this shouldn't be a huge surprise. We've had 6 months of consistent downside in the market. We are, in my opinion, and this is all going to be my opinion. You guys don't have to share them. You can form your own opinions. That's fine. I'm just giving my perspective. That is a full-on bear market, in my opinion. 6 months of consistent downside. You're seeing a lot of fake outs and capitulations right now. I would be very wary of the macro market right now. Okay. We're going to talk about how to win in a bear market. And surprise, surprise, it's likely not in the macro market. Okay. Looks like this previous support line down here was right around 30. We broke that to the downside. We could see even more downside to, 25, 24. And down here, this last support line, 19,000. There's a lot of room for downside. It really depends. This whole thing with Anchor Protocol and Luna is very scary. There was already a lot of fear in the market, and we aren't very close to regulation. So, in my opinion, I think it's going to take a lot for the market to reverse amidst all of what's happening, along with the war and global economic turmoil, inflation, and lack of regulation. I think that we're probably going to see some more downside and sideways movement for a good period of time. Now, I don't have any kind of crystal ball or speculations, but what we do know is that Bitcoin acts on 210,000 block cycles. Okay. So people call it a 4-year cycle. Technically, it's pretty close, but it's actually a 210,000 block cycle. And this is how many blocks before each halving event happens. Okay, so let me see if I can pull up this website. Bitbo. Okay, so the next halving event, May 3rd, 2024. That is almost exactly 2 years from now. Okay, and more often than not, what we see when the Bitcoin halving does occur is, or what's happening first and foremost in a Bitcoin halving event, is the amount of Bitcoin that is able to be mined by the miners is cut in half. So it continues halving, and as it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, it's going to continue to have for probably the next, I can't remember, maybe it's on here. 2044 is the last halving. Somebody can check that for me. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but so we got some time before all of the Bitcoin that can be mined is out of circulation, and it can only be bought and sold. Okay, that is likely for most of us, hopefully, going to be in our lifetime. And if you've been part of Forge, if you've been part of the Wolf Den, you know that we try to keep time and randomness on our side. Okay, so if you got into crypto believing in crypto, blockchain, Web3 being the future, then I don't think your conviction for that should have changed based off of anything that's been happening recently. That's my opinion. I have a strong belief in Web3 being the future. That's why we built this project. We wouldn't have built this if we didn't see around the corner, and we're able to discern and have conviction in the fact that crypto and blockchain and Web3 developments, NFTs, they're going to be around and they're going to be a big part. Okay, I don't know if you guys saw, but Instagram announced last week, or maybe it was a few days ago, that they're going to start incorporating NFTs. Okay, so those are really big steps in the right direction for adoption. In my opinion, if we're looking at a next halving event in 2024, probably going to see some more downside and to the right, and or even just staying flat for a while. But I don't see it really taking a next leg up in a bull run within a year and a half, a year and a half. That's my personal opinion on the market based off of historical data. However, that keeps us right on track with the 200-week moving average. Okay, so everything's been moving up and right in the crypto market over time. So it can get really challenging and emotional when you're taking a snapshot in time of a market that's extremely volatile and runs within kind of cycles, right? So let me see if I think I have a graphic on here. So the supply shock is what we were talking about. The amount of Bitcoin that can be mined gets cut in half. Let's talk about the 4 phases of more or less a bull run. So it's kind of the money flow. You can see here. Here we go. So this is the path to alt season, and this is kind of generally what we see happen as far as money moving in when we're seeing a leg up occur. And generally, a flow of money moves into Bitcoin, causing the price of Bitcoin to surge. Okay, Bitcoin kind of controls the market. Hopefully, most of you understand this. It is essentially Big Brother, so most things follow it, except for Guard. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so money flows into Ethereum. Ethereum starts outperforming Bitcoin, and people are talking about the flippening. Okay, this has happened all the time. And as money starts to, as Ethereum and Bitcoin start to cool off, money starts pouring into the larger caps. Okay, so the larger caps usually start taking a parabolic move to follow Bitcoin and catch up. And then the last phase is when alt season occurs. This is generally when it's the best time to really be playing in DeFi. If you guys were here last year around this time, it was a great time to be alive. It was a lot of fun. It's not so fun anymore. There's going to be a lot of projects that die. And we're going to explain why in a little bit. And we're going to explain why we have taken the approach that we have. Okay, because like I said earlier, we've been able to kind of peek around the corner. The stuff that I know about the macro market is generally me listening to people who are much smarter than me. So find people who know what they're talking about, listen to them. Ignore the noise. There's going to be lots of narratives. There's going to be lots of fear. Just remember, the market makes the narratives. The narratives don't make the market. Okay, they are fit by different people's perspectives to fit the story that they've created about what is happening. It is not this story happens and then the market is affected by that. Okay, so don't be fooled. So this is kind of the path to alt season. When in doubt, zoom out. Super important one. Okay, I don't really watch any charts. You can see I didn't even change anything. I don't really watch any charts on anything less than the 4-hour. Okay, understand the 4-hour chart is still a very, very, very short time frame. Okay, what we should be looking at are weeks and months. We don't have a ton of data for it because we haven't been alive for that long, right? But let's use the Guard chart as an example, because there's been a lot of emotions and people being silly in Guard the past few days, and it looks like the world is ending on the 1-hour chart. Okay, this feels really bad. If you're sitting here and you're like, oh my God, people are selling, I'm going to lose all my money, I bought right here, and you're freaking out. Just remember, Guardian is built, Forge is built, and engineered to slowly build over time. The base case for Guardian is 70% average per year over time. And I think most of you understand that Guard has significantly outperformed 70% this year. In fact, it's actually, before this dip, it had done almost 70% in one day. Okay, so just remember, like, if you're feeling emotional and you're looking at charts, which we'll talk about frequency of exposure in a little bit. If you're feeling emotional and you're looking at charts, you're like, if it is not to inform a decision, okay, I was looking at charts because I bought the dip right here. Okay, I think I bought it 3 times. But just remember, if you're not looking at data to inform a decision, you are likely doing more harm than good to yourself. Okay, because that's why we look at data. Compile, analyze, strategize, execute. Case. Right? But there's no need. If you had conviction and you loved Guard at $15, then you should absolutely love it at 8. If you loved Forge at 8 cents, then you should love it at 3. Okay? So part of, and we're going to talk about this in the next section after we go through this Terra stuff. Part of the problem is that you have not developed an operating system. Okay? When you have an operating system, when you have a macro belief, when you have a problem to solve for, your behavior becomes very easy to inform, and you'll likely outperform most people in a bear market if you're focusing on the right things. If you're focusing on strengthening your position on the board during the bear market versus just holding something and being put through misery. Okay? Like we talked about earlier. I don't know if I should invest in Guard and Forge. Like, I don't know about these things. They're new, like, they're not doing any marketing. They want me to farm. I'm only making like $20, $50 a day. I'll tell you a story. I was farming Guard when it launched. I was on the pre-sale. I was farming it on Astronaut's platform when it launched. I was making $25 a day. Okay? I was like, this doesn't seem like much, but it'll add up over time. And the market has collapsed time immensely. Looking back, every day that I was farming and making $25 of Guard, I was actually making $15,000 to $20,000 a day back then, if you retroactivate where the price is now. Okay, so having conviction in the trajectory of a project, in the team, in the principles, is super important. There's going to be a lot of DeFi projects that die right now. Okay, a lot. Actually, let me show you. I have it pulled up somewhere here. Is it under photos? That's why. Okay, let me share my other screen real quick. Okay, so here's something from Pomp. I don't really know who Pomp is, but it was a very good point. Okay, Mario dropped this in the Moonshot chat not too long ago. Here is what I've been telling founders all week. Make sure you are going to survive a prolonged downturn. Remove all the distractions and focus on stealing market share from anybody who is suffering right now. When the weak slow down, the strong accelerate. Okay? And it's funny because on the Wolf Den Guardians only call earlier today, I don't know who was there or not, but this is exactly what Nick was talking about they are doing. Absorbing, accumulating, making moves to strengthen their position on the board. This is how you win in a bear market. Okay, everybody else is playing a catch-up game. How do we get more buyers? How do we get new holders? How do we do this? How do we do that? Pushing for more, right? That is not sustainable. If we're talking about a period of prolonged downturn, you are likely not going to make it out. We are not all going to be okay. You have too hot of a hot mic.
Can you mute your mic? Thank you, brother.
I muted him. Okay. So, what do we do here at Forge? What does Guard do with the Wolf Den? We remove risk. We think sustainably. We haven't spent $50,000, $100,000 out there on marketing on fucking crypto moonshot posts or Dex Tools trending or CMC trending or Dex Tools ads or whatever, right? We haven't been pushing for more. We've been pushing for quality across the board, from our holders, from our wardens, from our dev team. So it's going to take a while. But guess what? You're going to have some time because there's not going to be much else going on. I can tell you right now, from what I know, and I cannot share because I'm not sanctioned to share, but from what I know, and some of you will probably have a conversation, but from what I know, this ecosystem that we are a part of is likely going to explode in comparison and relatively speaking to the rest of the market over the next 6 to 12 months. Okay? It would not be a surprise to me to see Night Swap as the number 2 DEX on BSC. It would not surprise me to see Guardian inside of the top 50. Okay, it was up to number 80. When we were at DGen 3.0, it was up to number 82 by market cap on the top 100 list. But their market cap isn't fixed on CoinMarketCap, so nobody's seeing it. Okay, there are some big updates coming for both Forge and Guard. Again, I can share the ones about Forge. We'll talk about it in a little bit. I cannot share the ones about Guard yet. But I always tell you guys, if you're paying attention, if you're on our side, you're helping us out here, we will always try to put you in the best position to strengthen your position on the board. Okay, early adopters, people who pay attention, our diehards, our wardens. We love our community. We want to help them win. It's not all about us or them. This fucking stupid game of us and them is how people go broke trying to fight each other and never get anywhere. Okay, so let's talk about something really quick. This is something that Nick was talking about on the Guardians Only call earlier, and that's right now there's going to be a lot of people who are angry and upset and mad, and they fucking hate crypto. Okay, there's going to be a lot of those people, especially with what's going on right now with this exploit, along with what happened with Terra and Anchor Protocol. It is our job to act responsibly and to act kind to others. Okay? Nobody go out there pointing fingers saying, we told you so. This and that, blah, blah, blah. Okay? We need to be kind to people. There's a lot of fear and trauma and anger in the market right now. And if we can just be kind and show people that they're potentially, depending on their personal economic principles, may be a better way to navigate the crypto landscape during this time, they may flip into a very loyal holder for us. Okay? So new people coming in, let's be patient. Let's be kind. Let's treat people with respect. And sometimes being respectful does mean putting your foot down. So there will be times that happens. Okay, we're not going to change our morals and our core principles just because of new people coming in. But talking about our tone and our approach, let's prove who we are as a Forge family. Okay, super important time. People are paying attention. They will be. I can promise you that. If they're not right now, just wait. Okay, let's share the other screen. So everybody following along with me right now? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Cool. Does anybody have any questions about some of the stuff we covered before we move on?
I am good. Thank you, Dan.
Can I share something?
Absolutely. You can share questions, whatever.
So one thing I think to factor in is that crypto, and I think one advantage that we have is that we look at it as a game, and that's essentially what it is. And one thing you have to understand is that this is essentially game theory. So can I share my screen?
Yep. Let me.
And one thing I love about this ecosystem and something that Daniel emphasizes with Forge is that we all went through cooperation and by achieving more by a collective effort, right? So If you guys don't know what game theory is, let me read it out to you real quick.
Joe,
So
you can share
game
your
theory,
screen.
yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
So game theory is a set of tools used to help analyze situations where an individual's best course of action depends on what others do or are expected to do, right? Game theory allows us to understand how people act in situations where they are interconnected, right? So for example, one thing that's very important to factor in is that when there was the huge, for example, sell-off in guard with this one individual, and he ended up buying back. I don't know why he would do that, but essentially he affected other players in the game, right? How did he affect other players in the game? More importantly, who were the players that he got affected? Were the people who weren't able to manage their emotions well, right? And one thing that I really want everybody here to very pay attention to that Daniel brought up recently and that he's always bringing up is your macro belief. Because the people who have macro belief in base case and chill, people have macro belief in guard, people have macro belief in forge, people have macro belief in this ecosystem, they're not really effective because they know fundamentally, oh, wow, millions of dollars are coming in. We're winning by trading fees, right? However, if there was no macro belief in Guardian or base case and chill, it would have ended up just killing the entire chart and everybody would have lost and a few players would have won. So essentially, I think this is something to keep in mind is that game theory is that connections between people arise in all sorts of situations. Sometimes through cooperation with others, we can achieve more than we can on our own, right? So it's very important that when, Daniel goes live inside these forged VC chats, that we all come collectively as a group and learn from him and learn from others so we could all cooperate together and, of course, achieve more than what we could achieve more by ourselves, right? Other times, conflict arises where an individual benefits at the expense of others. So rug pulls, right? So there's a bunch of people that, it's a bunch of people as in us that got into moonshot coins early on last year. It's a beautiful time making money left and right. However, there's a lot of times there is bad players where they're focusing on scamming people, right? They're exploiting people's emotional irrationality essentially, and then profiting off them, making sure that, hey, we're going to show you how to get rich quick. And then they get all emotional. Their intellect goes down. They start making decisions that doesn't inform the best behavior. So I just wanted to bring this up because I think if you understand game theory just a tad bit, a lot of these little disconnects starts to make a lot of sense of how we're essentially playing the game, but also understand as well, like, don't be naive. You're also playing the game with other people. And the point I'm trying to make is that we will all win together by cooperating.
Correct. And I think this boils back. Thank you for that, Joey. That was really valuable. Mm-hmm. This all boils back to what we were talking about, the us versus them. Everybody in crypto is playing this us versus them game. You see in this ecosystem how we're acting differently, right? There's how many projects we have in this ecosystem, Joey? 8?
Yeah, a lot.
It's about 8, right? And they all work together in synergy. They all serve a purpose, but they all stand alone and they create synergy with each other. Okay? We have an unfair advantage just by having this. Okay? The other unfair advantages that we have, you can find them in the Wolf Den Git book. They are unfair to the upside. Okay? Highly recommend if you haven't taken a once over of the Wolf Den white paper. If somebody could post that in the chat, that would be great. Go take a look at the Meet the Team page. These guys are awesome. Okay? And I have learned personally alongside Joey, from Nick, from Mario, from PD, from Wizard. These guys are doing really big things. They're very smart. They have a long track record of success in their respective domains. And that's the kind of mentors that you want on your side. Okay? I do my best to learn and reflect and understand and then reiterate and teach you guys. And I'm still learning. I'm not a guru. I don't know everything. So don't look at me don't look at it through the mirror and be like, oh, this guy's a genius, right? The true innovation is going to come from you guys and from people in this community. Okay, we're just building the tools so that we make that process easy for you. That makes sense, everybody? Okay, let me go back to this here. Okay, so we talked about the halving events, the 4 phases. When in doubt, zoom out, being kind in an angry world. Okay, let's talk about diffusion of innovation. Okay, this is pretty important. This is a principle that Nick talks about a lot in the Wolf Den that I'm learning about in CCA. We actually learned about it this week. Okay, so diffusion of innovation is all about knowing yourself and playing your game. Okay, if you have a hot mic, please mute your mic. Who is it? Don't make me come find you. Okay. So diffusion of innovation. Know yourself and play your game. Okay? What does knowing yourself mean? Anybody want to chime in? Don't be afraid. Everybody learns from people participating. Okay? Understand that.
I'll give one response. Knowing your risk tolerance.
Big one. Everybody's is different. Everybody's starting with different amount of capital. Everybody's playing in different markets. Some people have families and homes and stuff.
Knowing your time horizon for success.
Correct. Expected time frames for respected return on investment. That's a huge one. Okay. What tool do we have at our disposal that we teach here and the Wolf Den teaches and that Joey teaches? What tool do we have at our disposal to help us with this? The solvable problem. Okay.
Sure.
So the solvable problem is huge. If you guys don't know what the solvable problem is yet, we're going to talk about it in a little bit. Okay, down here. So knowing yourself is knowing what your personal economic principles are. Okay, why do you invest in things? What do you invest in? At what stage of the investing curve or the investor curve do you fit in? Okay, and we're going to look at that in a sec. The other thing is your personal investing criteria. Okay, Joey and Mario taught us, and Joey teaches it, and we jam on it, every week in Moonshot Mastermind calls. We talk about our investing criteria from the start was removing risk, identifying scams, so that you could get into things that were not scams, so that you can make money. It was never about hoping and praying and throwing a dart in the dark. Okay, it's about going through the steps, taking the time, doing your diligence to find things that are legitimate that you could potentially make a profit on. Okay, that's one part of investing criteria, is being able to actually do your own research effectively. Okay, and everybody does different things. Some people look at volume, some people look at holders, some people look at BSC scan, some people look at the charts and do technical analysis. Okay, whatever your game is, if you're a trader, if you're an investor, we'll talk a little bit about the two lenses in a little bit. Just know who you are and play your game. Because if you go try to play somebody else's game, it's very likely you're going to subject yourself to emotional volatility that you cannot handle. Does everybody understand about that? Does that conceptually make sense? Yes, Daniel. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the diffusion of innovation model. Okay. This is a really good one. So the diffusion of innovation curve. Okay. And ignore the labels. The ones on the top are really the most important. So wherever you fit within this, I'm an innovator. I fit within this curve. Okay. An innovator or an early adopter. I have an extremely high risk tolerance. I've always have in my life. I'm a reckless motherfucker, and I know myself. I'm a gambler, and if I believe in somebody or something, I'm willing to invest at the start and take on the most amount of risk because I can build conviction in investing in people. Okay, Nick uses this analogy all the time. Like people who bought Tesla when Tesla came out, they weren't buying Tesla for electric batteries. They were buying Tesla because of Elon Musk, and they believed in his ability and his competence to run things the right way. Okay, so these people are very willing to take risks and want to be the first to try the innovation. Okay, this is how Forge was created. Okay, we realized that there's a problem in the world that we can solve. We wanted to innovate and be part of that. We wanted to create synergy with the Wolf Den. We wanted to take advantage of the opportunities that we saw in front of us. Okay. Early adopters, these people are already aware of the need to change and are very comfortable in adopting new ideas. So these are people who can identify, these are people like when the internet came out who were investing in Google early, right? They're like, okay, this is solving a problem. There's a need for change in the world. I believe that this will be something. Okay. The early majority, these are the people that adopt new ideas after seeing evidence that the innovation actually works. So these are people that are buying in, for example, at Guard. Maybe they saw it back in November, but they were like, I don't know if that'll take off, right? Scrutiny and expectations. Anything that's innovative will always come along with scrutiny and expectations. Okay. So people who didn't feel comfortable buying Guard at $1 might feel very comfortable buying Guard at $8, and that's okay. This person's not right and this person's not right because it's all tied back to your personal economic principles and your investing criteria and knowing where you are on this curve. If you're an early majority, but you're investing in the innovator or the early adopter stage, you're likely going to assume a lot more risk and a lot more emotional volatility because you're not used to being here. This is where you feel comfortable. This is your game. Okay. Now, the late majority and the laggards are generally where you don't want to be. This is when you start seeing people talk about it on YouTube and BitBoys fucking on live stream with like 50,000 people cooking up some other bullshit. Okay. This is the late majority. Generally, you don't generally want to be here, but it's okay if you are. If you really need evidence, a lot of evidence. Okay. I think Microsoft had 8 years of evidence and data before they became a publicly traded company. Okay, so the laggards, the last to adopt a new product or service, they resent change and may continue to rely on traditional products until they are no longer available. Okay, also known as the skeptics. These are the people that you're like, hey, you guys should check out this Guardian token or this Forge token or DeFi or crypto in general, and they're like, oh no, like crypto's a scam. Okay, these are the laggards. You don't want to be here. And if you're in this call, you're likely not a laggard, which is good. We like you guys. Okay, so does this diffusion of innovation model kind of make sense? When we talk about knowing yourself, part of it is knowing which category you fit in and playing your game appropriately. If you're playing an innovator's game and you're a late majority, do you think you're likely going to have the conviction to hold a token that goes like 1,000x? Are you going to sell it at 100x? Are you going to sell it at 500x? Probably, because your time frames are shorter and you're playing a different game. Now, some of that was assumptions, right? And that's, we can speculate and assume all day, but all I want you guys to do is take a look in the mirror and understand who you are so that you know what game to play and then go and play it well. Okay? Some people are master traders like Mario. Mario is a fantastic trader and he plays his game. He turned $80 into, what was it, Joey? $80 into like $1 million in 3 or 4 months?
It was 80. It was insane. It was like 80 to 40K, 40K to like 300K, 300K to $1 million, 1 million to 100,000, and then 100,000 to 15 million, to 15 million to 1 million, then 1 million to 55 million.
Yeah. So if you can't handle volatility within your portfolio or in projects that you're in, it is very unlikely that you'll be able to amass that kind of wealth. And it's hard to, especially, with some of the assets that people are investing in. It's the Wild West out here. People are getting scammed, they're getting rugged, there's stuff happening at huge scales. Like Terra or Luna just nosedived and became like the most talked about thing on the planet because it was one of the safer algorithmically pegged stablecoins. Okay, but it just goes to show you that we are very early in crypto. There are people who are manipulating the game. We've got master chess players out here playing chess against sheep.
Yeah, game theory right there.
Yeah. So the good thing is if you're new, you're a little fish in a big pond, and you're around people in here like Joey, myself, Michael, Abraham. You're around people who are going to help you, which is really important. You don't want to be You don't necessarily want to be the smartest one in the room most of the time. Me and Joey have been spending a lot of time being the dumbest ones in the room, and it's great. We fucking love
Amazing.
it. Wouldn't have it any other way. Okay? It's incredible to have proximity. Okay.
Yeah.
So
One thing too, I shared the graphic inside the Telegram. That's kind of like the visuals for visual people because I'm a visual person. So, for example, like Daniel, like innovator, yay, shiny new thing, crypto, right? People who saw it, it's like, cool, that's a new tool that I want, right? Moonshots, base case and chill, etc. And one thing to just emphasize why we're so early is because before technology gets adopted, it has to pass through the chasm, right? So the chasm is essentially a part of the phase where the mass market starts to adopt it at a faster rate. My opinion, we haven't passed that yet. When we actually have regulation is, in my opinion, where crypto passes the chasm. I don't know when that regulation is going to come, when it might be, next year, 4 years from now, who knows, right? But this is just something to factor in, that we're in extremely lucky position depending on how you navigate the space safely. And of course, if you take advantage of all the resources that you have in your disposal, there should be no reason why you win, right? The only reason why you lose is you just continuously keep doing dumb shit.
yeah. Yeah, there's a saying, the best way to win is to never lose, right? And that was kind of what was preached in the Wolf Den from day one. How do we remove downside? How do we remove and domesticate risk? Okay, that's why we've chosen to follow the path of Guardian as far as our investment strategies. Because gold mine and chilling, you're experiencing half of the downside in volatility. You're getting all of the trading fees from it, and you're not subjecting yourself to this insane emotional volatility that comes with holding naked tokens. Right? So if you know that you have a high risk tolerance and you want to hold naked tokens, by all means. No one's going to tell you how to play your game. We're not going to tell you to buy. We're not going to yell at you for selling. If you have a solvable problem set up, and we're going to talk about that right now, it becomes very easy to inform behavior. Okay, so if let's use an analogy for a solvable problem. If you wanted to go downtown or whatever, okay, and you pulled up your Google Maps and you put in, I want to go downtown, but you didn't have any information about where you currently are, okay, knowing yourself. How is it going to give you directions to get there? How do you discern the path, the most efficient path to get there? You can't, right? If there's multivariable equations are almost impossible to solve. There's so many possibilities. So that creates a lot of anxiety, right? Financial anxiety equals uncertainty times powerlessness. So that uncertainty, or any amount of uncertainty or powerlessness, creates a lot more anxiety, and anxiety drives up emotions, and emotions cause you to make poor decisions. Okay, so bear market game plan: bulls, bears, and wolves playing chess against sheep. Okay, I just didn't want to put a different animal, so we just chose sheep. I'm not calling anybody in here sheep, so I apologize if you feel attacked. But windows and mirrors. Stop catching falling knives. Okay, this is in reference to the macro market. I think, and this is my personal belief again, that we're going to see a lot more downside in the macro market over the next couple of months. And that's a great thing for Forge. That's a great thing for Guard because of how we're running things. It's going to weed out a lot of projects. A lot of projects are going to die. We see this happen every time in this period of lull and boringness. A lot of people are going to get hurt. Okay, so if you think this is the bottom of the market and you're putting, your life savings or whatever in because you're like, I'm going to catch the pump and, really get this. If your time preferences are long enough, you might do very well. But you could potentially do better if you're navigating the crypto landscape in the most efficient way during this period of time. And what I'm talking about is passive asset accumulation strategies, okay, farming. Putting yourself in a position where you can accumulate other assets, which are your macro beliefs, ideally. You can have multiple, but accumulating those things for free is powerful during a bear market. Okay, so we'll do some quick math. If you did, if you put together a farm that was spitting out $100 a day. I'm going to pull my calculator up on here because my phone's off. So if you had a farm that was spitting out $100 a day from the raids, and we'll go through what the strategy looks like, okay? And you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin. Let's say Bitcoin is your macro belief, okay? Guard is mine. Bitcoin used to be mine. I still have a firm belief in Bitcoin, but I have a firmer belief in that Guard will outperform Bitcoin over the same period of time. So that is why it's my primary macro belief. So for me, if I was to make $100 a day in a raid strategy, so let's say I took Forge BNB, put it into the farm, took that night, put it into a raid, and that raid was earning me $100 a day of some asset. I could take that asset, I could sell it for BNB, and I can go and buy whatever my macro belief is. So let's say I bought $100 of Guard every day for a year. Okay, that's $36,000. And let's say, based off of what we talked about earlier with market cycles, let's say the market takes 2 years. Let's say the market takes 2 years to return to previous level. Okay, so we'll multiply that by 2. So you're looking at $73,000 of your macro belief that you've accumulated. Okay, and this is all arbitrary math. It changes the second I do it, so just keep that in mind. You can do all the math you want, but make sure it's. I'm just doing it to kind of give you guys some perspective. Make sure you're doing it to inform behavior or understand or out of curiosity. Okay, so that $73,000. Let's say Guard goes back to $20 because it was almost at $20. That's a 2.5x. You're looking at $180,000 that you've accumulated. And if, let's say, you bought $180,000 of Bitcoin, you flipped it into Bitcoin when the next bull cycle happened, and this is not what I'm going to do or what I suggest you do. It's just an example, okay? You flip that into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at, let's say it's at 30,000, kind of where it's at right now, and it goes back to its all-time high. That's a 2x. So you're looking at $365,000 that you've amassed during a period of time where most people are likely just sitting at a loss. And again, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. The market could pump tomorrow. I could be wrong. Okay, but just giving you guys some perspective about the power of asset accumulation in periods of lull or boredom, right? Guard was super boring for the first 6 months. I was there the whole time. Okay, nobody knew what it was. Nobody was using it. There's no marketing. There's very little people coming in. But the people who were coming in were being educated about how to create a solvable problem, how to use the base case as a tool to achieve a core capital number that represents the life that you want to live, the financial freedom to live the life that you want to live, closing the gap from where you are now to where you actually want to be. Okay? Every person was taken through the same process, and people were using the asset as it was intended to be used. Once the market identified the value in it, and when I say the market, I mean Mario and PD, we saw some decent sized money rolling. Okay, and this looks like a big pump, right? Okay, now the market really saw the value. So slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I'm sure you've heard that before. Slow is also boring. But hey, if boring means we close the gap to get closer to where we want to be, I'll take naps all day and just base case and chill, right? So same thing applies with Forge. We're following the same strategies. The only disadvantage we have is, well, the two disadvantages that we have is that we're not decoupled from the market yet. That may happen in the future. No promises. And we also do not have the kind of network and support that that Nick has. It's pretty unparalleled, the network that Nick has. But we have a lot of proximity, and we're creating a lot of synergy with the ecosystem. We're acting ethically. So we do have ties, and we made some really great connections this weekend at DGen 3.0. Joey was there. Me, Joey, the Wolf Den team, and Nick were standing up on stage. And we were just kind of answering questions that people had regarding being a project owner and the things we deal with and stuff like that. And that opened up a lot of doors. Okay, we have some really awesome potential partnerships that we're kind of working through right now. So do with that information what you will. Okay, so solvable problems and macro beliefs is what we talked about. If you can accumulate your macro belief consistently through a bear market, If you want to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano or fucking Luna, don't do that. Make sure you're doing it in a way to inform your behavior. And the way that you know that is by the solvable problem, because the solvable problem will tell you, am I on track? Am I behind? Do I need to collapse time to accomplish my goal in my appropriate time frame that I set? Am I making much more? Am I far ahead of schedule? Should I move money out to domesticate risk? Right? Lock in my wins. So the solvable problem is really the root. And if you haven't sat down and worked through your solvable problem, all of the wardens have watched all of Nixmas. That's also a great thing to go through. Those two things will make you feel incredibly more certain and have more power over your outcome if you do the work and you're using the asset as it's intended to be used. Okay? If you are not using the asset as it's intended to be used, that is okay. But you forfeit your right to come in here and demand we do things in a way that benefits you when everybody else is acting and working together. Does that make sense to everybody? When marketing, when this and that. Okay? We're not in a rush. As you saw earlier, the quote we read, all we're trying to do is survive a prolonged downturn in the market. And if Forge moved sideways for a year, if it moved completely sideways for a year, I don't even know if this is going to pop up because of the wallet stuff, but it should. If everything stayed the same, you'd be getting 80% on your money, assuming the price of night stays the same. Okay, if the price of night goes up, you make a lot more. And based off what we talked about earlier and what some private information that was shared in the Guardian only call today that I won't reiterate, it's very likely we see night do good things. So 80% return on your money in a bear market is outpacing probably most assets besides Guard, because Guard's a Titan. Does that make sense to everybody? I know a lot of people here are probably following strategies. I just have to over-explain to the community for new people that are watching so they have a real understanding of why we're doing things the way we're doing it. Okay? It might not have made sense when we launched, but when the market crashed and you're seeing how we're handling it versus other projects, it probably is starting to make a lot more sense. Okay? We had the ability to see around the corner and discern that this was probably going to happen. So we structured things accordingly. Not how can we get more buyers, more holders, more buying pressure, more eyes, but how can we create a community of people that understand what the asset is, how to use it. They want to be educated within the crypto ecosystem. They want to learn how to use NFTs to solve real world business problems or problems in general and create alternate revenue streams. Okay, all of that takes time. So why people are playing this game against time? They're making time their enemy. What do we know about time and randomness, Joey? Is Joey still
Undefeated.
here? Yeah, he is. There it was. Time and randomness are undefeated. So if you're playing a game against time or randomness, you're probably going to lose. You might win, right? We could talk about the decision-making matrix and all that, but we won't right now. Let's save that for another day. You might win, but that's assuming that you have the conviction to hold through all of the volatility. Okay. All right, let's go back to this. Frequency of exposure. Important, especially in a bear market. Okay. Raise your hand behind closed screens if you saw your portfolio take a drastic turn in the last week. Raise your hand if that makes you emotional. Okay, it's okay to be emotional. Acknowledge it. Okay, my portfolio is swaying multiple seven figures. It's not fun. Okay, it's not a good thing. But What doesn't help is staring at the chart or your portfolio value and just watching it. Okay, frequency of exposure. Exposure to data. Remember we talked about earlier. You look at data to inform a decision. If your macro belief hasn't changed and you look at your solvable problem and you say, I'm on track. In fact, I'm probably way ahead of schedule right now. There is absolutely zero reason to do anything. Go outside and play with your kids. Go, I went out and played golf and had a couple beers with a buddy and, just did other things. Come back and look at it later. There's no need, and I think a lot of us in crypto are probably addicts in some way, shape, or form. Okay, I was once upon a time an addict, and I still am in some capacity, just on different things. But don't fool yourself saying that you can handle the frequency of exposure, because a lot of people lost a lot of money, a lot more money than people are jumping off bridges about. And if you aren't prepared, if you don't have the tools in your toolbox, the solvable problem, a macro belief, conviction in the team, and understanding of markets and market cycles, if you're not prepared, you are very susceptible to making very stupid decisions. Okay, there's people when guard dipped the other day, someone sold a couple $1 million, and then there was a cascade of sales. There was a lot of people who lost a lot of guard tokens or a lot of money just in general, selling and buying back into the higher price. Okay, there's going to be periods of volatility in Forge too. I'm warning you right now. Be prepared. Do the work. And me and Joey were talking about this earlier this week on Moonshot Call, like sitting down and doing the work, and not encouraging your own learned helplessness. It'll take you far further than reading like what is blockchain, how do smart contracts work, trying to understand the tech and all that kind of crap. Okay, I shouldn't speak for you, but most of you probably aren't here for the tech. Most of you are here because you want to make money, and you likely came into DeFi because you wanted to make money fast. Raise your hand if you came into DeFi because you wanted to make a lot of money really fast. Okay, raise your hand if you made a lot of money really fast. It's probably not as many of you, okay? Because people they're moving in and out, and they're running around, and they're chasing more, and they're not locking in their wins and protecting their downside, okay? So I just really want you guys to understand the importance of the stuff we teach here and actually doing the work when we teach them, right? If you just see me go through this stuff today and you're like, oh, that's cool, that's good information, and then you walk away and you do nothing, you're not going anywhere. You're not getting better. You're not learning. Joey said earlier, I think it was earlier today, it might have been yesterday on the call, that this is a great, probably one of the best times to learn. Okay, you're going to have lots of time. There's going to be a lot of boringness and fear and all kinds of crap in the market. This is a really good time to learn. You guys have a very awesome opportunity. Everybody has an awesome opportunity. Okay, whether it's to learn or to accumulate, whatever it is, this is an opportunity. That is the difference between an investor and a trader frame. When I see guard go down, because guard is my macro belief, my thought process is, sweet, I can accumulate more for cheaper. Okay, if the thought process is, oh my God, I just lost $1 million, if you're thinking in US dollars and your time frames are so short that you're looking at a 2-day time frame of probably some of the only volatility that Guard has seen in the last 3 months, there is something wrong. There is a dissonance between what you say you want and how you're acting.
I have a question, if
Sure.
that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you comment on locking in wins if you're hedged past your solvable problem, and if that's a decision worth making, and the timing around when you might make that decision?
Joey's favorite answer. It depends, right? If you talk to anybody who knows what they're talking about, you're likely going to get an "it depends" answer, because it doesn't depend on, like, I could tell you what my strategy would be, but my strategy is going to be completely different from yours, right? You have a different starting point. You have a different risk tolerance. You have different time frames. You have a different core capital number. You have different investing criteria than me. So to speak in, because I'll answer your question to the best of my ability. When speaking about locking in wins, okay, if you set up a solvable problem and it was, I want to make $8 million in 10 years, and it's not even year one and you're like 3 or 4 years ahead of schedule, if you the appropriate thing to do, because you said in this timeline, it is appropriate for me to get this amount to live the life I want to live. It would be appropriate to move money out of a more volatile asset into something more stable to lock in the win, right? Now, if you're like, cool, my risk tolerance is super high and I just want to collapse time as much as I can, then just chill, hang out. If you have conviction in the asset and you have a belief that it's going to do X, Y, or Z, that should inform your behavior. Your conviction and your macro belief should inform your behavior. But locking in wins, you could pull money out and put it into stable coins and stake the stable coins. Right now, there's some crazy shit going on, so I wouldn't really touch anything besides BUSD. And USDC is probably pretty solid. I wouldn't touch Tether or obviously UST. And we forgot to go through the Twitter thread. We'll go through it at the end. It's actually pretty interesting. It's masterful. So, did that answer your question in some capacity?
Yeah, 100%. That gave me a lot more clarity.
Okay, awesome. I'm super glad to hear that. Okay, so just real quick, we talked about passive asset accumulation through a bear market. Let's talk about what it looks like in Forge. So the Forge BNB liquidity pair is your gold mine. That's what we refer to as your gold mine. That gold mine earns you night. You can take that night and you can stick it in the night pool to earn more night, or you can take it and put it straight into the raids. Okay, either route you take, this is a longer time preference, but likely a higher return on investment over time. So if you're not in a rush, or you have a large stack of night already, then you're a bit of a leg up. Okay, but you can take the asset that is rated from staking the night, and you can sell that asset for more BNB. Then you take that BNB, you can either go and buy half Forge, half BNB, and beef up your golden goose. And the auto compounder does all of this for you, by the way, but it just sells the night and buys this back. Or you could take that money, that BNB, and go buy whatever your macro belief is, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, US dollars. Could cash it out. Regardless, you have a gold mine that continues to print you assets for free. Joey, what do we know about wealthy people? What do?
They accumulate more and more and more assets.
Correct. And they use their assets. They like using assets that yield them more assets.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is how at Forge and in Guardian, it's similar strategies. This is how the passive asset accumulation strategy works. You could set up a gold mine or a base case in night if you wanted to. If you want more APY and your macro belief is in night, cool, go ahead. A lot of people did that in the beginning because they saw night's APY was like 800%, and instead of putting that money into Guard, because Guards was 40 at the time, they lost out on a lot of money because they were chasing APY, right? Night and Forge and Guard are completely different tokens. Guard and Forge are more similar. Night is completely different, right? Night is a DEX token. It acts completely differently. It has an unlimited supply because they're minting new tokens every day. That's how a DEX works. Okay, Forge and Guard have a limited supply. Okay, so that's how the strategies work within our ecosystem. Anybody have any questions about that? Cool. All right. Let me see. Oh, I just wanted to show you guys this earlier. I forgot to. But let's look at some of these major milestones for blockchain wallets, like worldwide. you can see the growth, right? Just the growth from sheer wallets. Like we're touching 80 million in December of 2021. Okay, there's likely even more now. This is a huge amount of growth. That line is almost on a straight line up. Okay, kind of like our. And then here's DeFi total TVL growth in 2021. At the beginning of 2021, it was $18 billion in DeFi. At January of this year, $240 billion. Okay, DeFi is exploding. And it's very likely that during this bear market, people in DeFi will likely, if they're playing smart and they're removing their downside and they're keeping time on their side, that they will likely outpace people that are sitting in macro markets or trying to trade these little capitulations or fake outs. Okay? And it's a lot less stressful. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys those charts earlier to show just as a general viewpoint of the crypto market, where we're headed. We are still very, very early. Everybody here is super early. So congratulations on being here. Okay, so let's talk about some updates and developments for Forge. We've been testing the utility on the testnet, and both the Ethereum and the Binance chain are working fully functionally. We're just working out some small little kinks and changes. We're excited to roll this out. It's likely that we will get that done within the week of me coming back. I will be gone all next week for those that missed it. I'll be in Costa Rica. I'm going to take a bit of a break, so you guys are going to have to hold it together. Michael and Astro and Abe, they're going to step up. Wardens, I need you guys to step up and just make sure that we're being kind to people coming in. We're showing them how to use things. But we're excited. We're excited to roll this out. And we have so here's some inside baseball. We do have an Android mobile app that is being developed, and it is pretty much done, to our surprise. The dev team has a guy who's very good with app development, and he's been working on it while the other dev team has been working on the utility. So I'm playing around with it right now. It's pretty cool. I'm not going to say too much about it, but just know that we have some really cool things in the works we're excited about. And yeah, so that's the update on the utility for anybody who's been wondering. I know a lot of people have been asking when they're going to be able to create NFTs and stuff. We wanted to make sure that things were safe, that things were functional. We're never going to rush to put things out just to put things out. So bear with us. Okay. Let's talk about the NFT, the rewards NFTs. The season 1. Okay. The NFT farm ends in about 5 days, I believe, on the 18th. Could be the 19th, but I think it's the 18th. Okay. You will not be distributed rewards immediately because they're going to be done manually. So we got to sit down and look through 200 of these and send them out manually. Okay. So I'm not going to bring my device that has the Forge wallets on it to Costa Rica because that would be dumb. So when I get back from Costa Rica, we will distribute the season 1 rewards. Okay. The expected date for the season 2 NFT farm to go up will probably be 3 months exactly after launch. Launch was on March 17th, so we're looking at June 17th as the expected date time range. Okay, that is not set in stone. You guys understand blockchain, you know how this shit works. Okay, I'm just giving you guys some things to kind of fit into your timelines, understand what's happening, and prepare for it. Okay. Let's talk about guard dogs real quick, and then we'll see what I can't really tease anything. I kind of already said these things earlier anyways. So, Michael, are you here still? Is Michael still here? He's in here, but I don't know if he's listening or not. So we're going to be coming out with a collection of 1,000 NFTs. It is a collection that is Michael's personal collection that he's had for a little while. And we're going to tie it into what we're doing here. Okay. So The guard dog NFTs, they're going to be an INO on Wizard. We're going to sell them for. We haven't discussed in depth and reverse engineered and done the projected math, but likely we're going to sell from anywhere from $200 to $500 a piece. And Michael's going to take a large portion of those funds that are generated from the NFT sale, and he's going to build a very big farm. And what he's going to do is he's going to pick a couple people every period of time. I don't know if that's going to be 1 month or 2 months or whatever. That's up to him. He's going to pick a couple people, and he's going to kick a large amount of rewards to those people. So it'll be a bit like a raffle almost type of thing. But he is going to take a 6-figure sum and build a farm on the Night ecosystem with that. That benefits the ecosystem. Anybody who holds one of these guard dog NFTs, whenever we do giveaways in Forge, if you hold one of these guard dog NFTs, you will get double the rewards. Okay? We haven't done a ton of giveaway games yet. We've done them here and there. We're working on getting a few things set up. We might even get one of those Dragon Hordes games that the Wolf Den has. We might even get one of those set up. I think Spartans is also might be able to get one of those set up, so that's exciting. But we'll talk more about these. Michael will post the artwork for them. They're phenomenal. They're awesome. They're really badass pit bulls. And the reason we call them guard dogs is because the plan is, and this could change. Again, tentative. I'm just sharing things with you guys because you're here. The plan is to start a big farm and to use the rating strategy to buy Guardian and then to distribute Guardian to people who win. Okay, so this is something that benefits the ecosystem. If the ecosystem wins, we win. So we'll talk more about that. The expected release for those, it's kind of fluffy, but we'll call it 2 to 3 weeks, probably before the end, or probably between the end of Season 1 NFTs for rewards and the beginning of Season 2. Does anybody have any questions?
Cool. Hey, Dan. Sorry, buddy. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. Can you drop some of the artwork for the guard dogs in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that. I was on the other call with my buddy Josh. His fiance Veronica is in here. She's a VT.
Oh, really?
Very, very smart lady. She's actually in a really neck deep into commercial real estate. She's going to help us with that aspect and avenue when we turn that corner.
Very cool. We got some studs for the real estate section in the business domain in our Discord, so we'll get her in there if she's interested, and we'll start to create some innovations. So I guess, yeah, this is a good update too. We are currently building out the Discord. There will be different tiers in the Discord. You will need a specific NFT to get into the Discord. I think there will be a free section on it, but you'll need a specific NFT to get into the bottom tier, and then you'll need a different NFT to get into the higher tiers. Okay, the Wardens will be the second highest tier. So they will automatically get grandfathered in. They will receive an NFT, a Warden NFT, when we get those out. There's no timeline on that. There's no real utility and stuff for that. So just hang tight. But we are building out this Discord. We are building a section for business domains. We've got photography, artwork, collectibles, real estate, virtual reality / metaverse, gaming. We've got luxury goods. We've got a couple more. So there's going to be domains where there's going to be people who are looking to create innovation within their industry, and we're going to put them in rooms with other people who are trying to do that. And they are going to be the ones who diffuse the innovation of what we've built, and we'll provide them the tools to create the innovation within their industry that they want to see. Does everybody understand why that makes sense and why we're not allocating a ton of resources to try to learn everything in every business domain and do it ourselves? That's not the best way to go about things, in my opinion. It's not a great use of resource allocation. Instead, we've been talking to some very well-connected and powerful people within different domains that have expressed a lot of interest in being part of this Discord and providing value. And we're probably going to get some interviews with some pretty cool people. We'll get some live calls with some of the people from the Wolf Den, maybe with Mario, maybe even with Nick, if he has time and he wants to. It's totally up to him. Jesse Elder, Jeff Spencer, some of these people that we have proximity to, if we can prove and we get people in the right tiers and they have to show and prove to us that they are competent, then we can open doors to start bringing people into the network. But we need to really prove ourselves before any of that happens. Okay, so those are some of the updates that we got going on. If anybody has any questions about anything we talked about, say them now before I stop the recording. Cool. I'm going to stop the recording. Hour 15.